once you start making things more personal and, letting folks know, like, we're here to help you, I think that does so much. Like, it does wonders with people getting on board, with people believing in you and your mission, supporting it. So I'm just like, let's get excited because this is some really exciting stuff.
SC Media, our diamond sponsor, Arctic Wolf, and our sapphire sponsor, Cohesity, are proud to present this month's CISO Stories program. Each month, the CISO Stories program explores a cybersecurity topic selected by Cyber Risk Alliance's CISO community and provides content that examines that topic from a variety of perspectives. Hosted by Todd Fitzgerald, best-selling author of the CISO Compass, the CISO Stories weekly podcast features content powered by the 1,100-plus members of the Cyber Risk Alliance's CISO community. Listen to the CISO Stories podcast episodes at CISOstoriespodcast.com. The Cybersecurity Collaborative is a unique membership community enabling cybersecurity leaders to work together in a trusted environment. To learn more, visit CISOstoriespodcast.com/CSC. I'm your host, Todd Fitzgerald, and this week we welcome Jessica Hoffman, Deputy CISO at the City of Philadelphia. Welcome, Jessica.
Thanks, Todd. How's it going?
Good. So tell me, what attracted you to the cybersecurity field?
Oh, wow. When I was starting my career, there wasn't any cybersecurity majors in college. It's all IT. So I didn't have the traditional cyber background per se. I have to say, Todd, it was more of a water cooler discussion or voluntold. Uh, Obviously, or not obviously, you and I met from working at Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, from you all as business partners. I actually worked there. And yeah, I was young and ambitious. And they're like, who wants to be an ISSO? And I was like, I want to be an ISSO. And it went from there. But that was definitely one of the better decisions I've made in my life and my career because it's just been so much fun and met so many great people and so many opportunities. But really, it was like basically a water cooler sort of thing and being voluntold and just trying to do more because I was young and ambitious.
Well, and we need to make sure we get more people like you into the field that are young and ambitious and want to do that. And hopefully we can do that beyond the water cooler.
I don't think they call it water cooler anymore. Nobody's in the office for the water cooler. So we definitely got to think of better, different ways with the times to attract the young talent and get people into the field, period.
Sure, absolutely. So today we're going to talk about the all-in-one CISO. There's nothing that we can't do. What, tell us what you mean by that.
Oh, thank you. I actually got the idea recently when I was at a conference. I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania right now, and I was at a conference about the future of the state cybersecurity. So from the Infrastructure Act, millions of dollars were allocated to every state and then trickle down to how they're implementing it within the state itself. So, every state has the autonomy to do it however they'd like. But Pennsylvania certainly, it's very exciting right now in Pennsylvania from an administration perspective, and also where we're going in the future with distributing those funds, but also automation with everything, statewide SOC, statewide services versus, the siloed effect when we're talking about counties, municipalities, cities, etc. So I actually, that was the theme of the conference at Harrisburg University. It was all in state. But I was like, you know what? That is so relevant to the CISO position because we wear so many hats. And at the city of Philadelphia, it's a leadership role I'm in, but also it's very much getting my hands dirty too with the team. And I'm not gonna lie, I do like that a lot. It helps me be a better leader as far as understanding what's going on. And it's not just me. The CIO, the COO, the deputies, the CFO. I mean, they're all very reachable, approachable. They know what's going on. So there's that distance between what's actually going on, boots to the ground, and that leadership support. It's not as wide as some organizations, and there's a lot of reasons why for that. All good stuff. but the all in the CISO, all in one role. Man, we have the ability to do so much and have so much change from our program perspective to the people that are serving under us or we're leading to mentorship. To of course the people that's data we're protecting and just basically changing the world. We're change makers. We could do it all. That's how I feel. Maybe it's just me, but we got a lot of opportunity in this CISO position and deputy CISO position to really, really change the game, change the culture.
Do you think that the employers see it that way, or is that our view as CISOs that we have that capability?
Ah, these are tough questions, Todd. Um, I would hope that people see us that way. I hear stories and I know it's true that security doesn't always get the support that they need as far as the funding, as far as the resource allocation, or even just straight up respect and a seat at the table. When I first started in security, there wasn't even a security group at CMS. Certainly the career has evolved to where we are at the table. We do have a voice. We have real world examples of why we should be there, why security should be baked in instead of baked on, why we need these funds, why we need continuous monitoring tools. So, I do feel like I'm an optimistic person. Like, if you have the facts to back it up, and that's really any role, I think, if we're able to show use cases, show scenarios, and again, there's no shortage of scenarios from a city perspective that we can show the importance of safeguarding our data and the tools and the resources that we need to do that. So I'd like to think that we are respected and they want us there. But I do also know that there are still some folks and some companies that are operating in more of an old school mentality. They might not have fully embraced, technology within their operations, or they have, but they don't really understand what's going on. They have clouds over here, clouds over there. They really don't even know what that means. So to answer your question, I'd like to say yes, we do get that support, but I know that's not always true.
The cybersecurity industry has an effectiveness problem. New technologies, vendors, and solutions emerge every year, yet we still see headlines filled with high-profile breaches. Designed to help you monitor, detect, respond, and recover from cyber attacks whenever and wherever they strike, Arctic Wolf provides the first cloud-native security operations platform, empowering organizations of any size to stand up to world-class security operations with the push of a button. Learn more about their suite of fully managed security operations solutions at CISOstoriespodcast.com/Arctic Wolf. So what are some of those scenarios that you face in the city of Philadelphia that are big challenges?
Sure. Um, well, being in the public sector is very much different than private. Were you in the public sector at all, Todd?
Yeah, working with different government contractors.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were like either way, whether you're FTE officially or support business partners or support contractors. I mean, it's a different animal being working for the public sector. So, some of the challenges, I think, going back to your first question was, how did I get into cyber? And we need more people that are eager to jump up and volunteer. We face workforce issues, a little different with the public sector, municipalities specifically. We have some requirements that we got to keep the talent local. The salaries aren't necessarily always competitive with industry. There's a way more work than we have enough folks. But that also, I think, through any challenge is always a plus. So we've been really efficient with thinking out the box, creative ways how we can, reduce that risk of maybe not having enough people with, having more automation. Maybe not focus on, the lower risk and the higher risk, nothing like super novel or whatever. But, having that workforce talent is always a challenge. And I think that just goes across the board. And I've been to a lot of conferences lately who have had panels and discussions on how to attract that talent, and also retain that talent, diversify that talent. I'm really happy to see that that's on everybody's radar. Although I hope it actually something happens from it, right? Like maybe looking at your job requirements and things like that. Other than that, there's always about funding. Although I'm happy to say that from a city perspective and where I was previously, I think again going back to there's no shortage of examples. Most people, especially in the healthcare, if you have healthcare data or CJIS data from Department of Justice or IRS data, federal tax information data, there's like real consequences there, right? Like real money consequences. And, there's nothing worse for, senior executives than losing money, right? That continuity of business, generating that revenue, making sure your services are still available to your customers. There's no shortage of examples there. So, but at the same time, we're coming up to a mayoral transition, so there's a lot of uncertainty, and that's with any public sector whenever there's an administration change. So again, that's nothing new, but we're like bracing ourselves in that scenario too. But thankfully, we have some really good leadership at the city. I'm having a great time working there. We have some great leadership here in the state of Pennsylvania, period, when it comes to IT, and looking forward. The state of Pennsylvania is already like talking about looking into AI implementation, how that could help with the statewide services. Again, the all-in state. I got the all-in-one from a CISO, multifaceted change maker. I did steal that from the all-in-one state here in Pennsylvania. But ultimately, I think we're all in this together. Period. So, I say those are always the two biggest challenges that any company would face, and the city of Philadelphia is not any different.
Is there much collaboration across CISOs in other cities? I've interviewed in the past on CISO stories. We've had the CISO for the city of Chicago. We've had the CISO for Fairfax County, which was one of the 5 largest counties in the U.S. The CISO for the Los Angeles County. Do you ever meet together and share some of those concerns that the city governments have?
Oh, for sure. And great question. When I started this position, that was like my first question. Like, what's going on with Pittsburgh? What's going on in Harrisburg? What's going on in Baltimore? What's going on in Maryland? Like, what's going on in Jersey? Yeah, that was like my first question because as much as we'd like to think we're unique, we're not unique. There's no original thoughts anymore. Okay. Whatever we're dealing with, the city of San Francisco is dealing with, the city of Chicago. So yeah, actually, there is a city CISO group. We have a channel that if you're a CISO or deputy CISO for a major city or any city really. So that's been really cool. The MSI SAC and ESI SAC, that has like a great group, and anybody who's part of the yeah the public sector or education sector has access to the MSI SAC. So actually, that's where I found out about the CISO group, and we have great communication here in Pennsylvania across the board from all the counties, cities, and municipalities, CISOs and CIOs and IT directors and security engineers and all that stuff. But yeah, there's definitely collaboration, which is I think is really great. Plus all the conferences. I know Todd, I don't know if you still hang out at the conferences. I still remember you talk, about how Gen X and the baby boomers and the millennials. I don't remember what you talked about, but I remember it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's
But
good.
yeah,
At
that's
least you had
good.
fun. At
Yeah, I
least,
love the conferences, man. Like, there's nothing better than collaborating there as well.
yeah. No, those are still important. I'm still all over the place in a lot of those. I try to cut back, and then I keep getting asked other places. But anyway, um, so so ransomware has really been a big issue since we had the NotPetya WannaCry stuff. 1997. It's really changed the nature of the game. I know, we've had I've had discussions with the CIO from the city of Baltimore, for example, around what they had to deal with. How are you preparing for ransomware to make sure this isn't a large issue for the city of Philadelphia?
Sure, great question. I kind of feel like every city, or no cities rather, are immune to that possibility. Not to mention county or private corporations, whatnot. Like nobody's immune to potential ransomware attacks. Um, we have a CISO rep for our region, as every region has one, and we're in good communication there. And CISO has been great. I think that having that institution, that federal government agency available to us has been a game changer. Because again, when I started and I was at CMS, started my cyber career, there was nothing like that, right? So the services that they provide do include tabletop tests and support to prepare for with ransomware playbooks and just going through scenarios. So absolutely, we're doing something very similar. We do rely and we do work with our sister rep as well as MSISAC. We have our playbooks ready. We do our regular tabletop tests. Have those type of assessments there. I think the biggest thing, and coming from an audit and compliance background myself, you know, every second matters when it comes to any kind of incident. So making sure that everybody knows what their role and responsibility is the number one thing. There's always going to be somebody or something that doesn't go according to playbook or according to the what you practice or whatnot. But at least everybody knows what their role is. We know the chain of command. We know who's involved, who we need to communicate to, that chain of command there. Who we need to bring in, and so I think that that is pretty much key there, that communication aspect. Everything else we can work on, as we go through it. But, just making sure everybody knows what they're supposed to do is something that we've been focusing on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the preparation is absolutely necessary, and I think organizations could even spend more time on that preparation because, as you say, things don't always go correctly.
Absolutely. Things never go correctly, Todd. This field is very fickle. Who knows what's going to happen each day, and usually it happens on a Friday at like 3 o'clock
Yeah.
before a holiday, right?
So you're obviously very, very well versed in the NIST, 853 type controls. What sort of frameworks, controls have you found to be useful for city government?
Yeah, that's another great question, and I'm thinking about maybe doing a talk on that because some organizations think that maybe 171 is good for them, or even CSF, which is not something you want to. That's not like a baseline, right? That's more of an executive assessment to assess risks overall. So I think that there is a disconnect, or maybe just it's not always clear what frameworks you should be using or implement, adopt, and customize within your organization. So, to that note, it really does depend on what type of data you have there. But for the city, for the size of Philadelphia, so Philadelphia is the sixth largest city in the world, the ninth largest state in the United States. We have about 35,000 employees, over 1.6 million citizens. I mean, we're rather large, over 60 departments. So we have all the data, whatever data, we got all the data. So in my group, the information security group, we're responsible for rolling out policies, procedures, plans, baseline for the city to adopt across the board. And then, there's additional customization trickling down. So 853 Rev 5 is where we're at, just because it does cover all of our enterprise and shared controls and all that. But I really do think that, that's a really good question that every organization should look at, not just when they're, or evaluate, not just when they're starting their security program, but ongoing, because maybe 171 was good for you to start off, right? Maybe you grow so much that you go to 853, or maybe you start off in ISO, or maybe you have so many different data sets like we do in the city that you have to have compliance with the IRS, Pub 175, 1075, excuse me. CJIS requirements, which are changing here starting next, I believe, next October. It's a full time job. Don't get me started, Todd, because I'll talk all day about audit stuff. But yes, I'm a NIST fan, though. Everything NIST, I'm with that.
Mhm. So you made a comment about the CSF, about that. That's an executive level, and that's not a baseline. What do you mean by that?
I mean that that's when we're thinking about, all right, what are the minimum amount of controls we need to put into our organization to minimize the risk. Um, just CSF is very high level. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's more of, okay, Todd, you're the CIO, we have the COO, we have, and maybe the mayor. This is a framework we're using CSF to do a high level risk review of what we're already doing with the 853 implementation. So, in my opinion, and if you talk to other auditors, and maybe they're shaking their heads at me, I don't know, but in my opinion, my experience, that's not really a framework. Like, okay, we're implementing CSF. That doesn't really cover what you need it to cover when you're talking about your organizations, the programs, the departments, the systems, the services. Um, I'm not saying there's not a one size fits all with any of this, because customization is a real thing and it should be taken in consideration. But I definitely know that CSF is not. That's not something we would do. That's the only thing we would do at the city. And I've worked with other Medicare when I was doing the audits for CMS. I've worked with other organizations that absolutely use CSF. And we use it too, because actually the NCSR, I always forget what that stands for. That's based on this. The CSET tool or I'm sorry, CSF, the CSET tool has some CSF in there too. So I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying that it doesn't really give
Mhm.
the in-depth purview of the risk and all the requirements that you really need to get into when we're talking about configuration settings, time frames, those organizational defined criteria.
I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, in
Okay.
the CISO Compass book, I laid out exactly that. So I'm so
Oh,
glad to
look at that.
hear that the NIST at the top is an executive level framework, but you really need controls like the NIST 853, or you could use the other. Like the CIS controls, or you need those other baseline controls in there to do that. So how do you get people in the city of Philadelphia excited about security stuff?
Ooh, I like this question too. Did I write these questions? Because they're
No.
pretty good. Well, first of all, have you met me? I'm like, let's get excited, period. I think I say that every single talk. I'm like, let's get excited. Who's excited? We're excited, teamwork. Yeah, no, I just, it's not hard to get people excited when you're excited, right? So, as far as energy level, when I first started with the city, uh, is around the time we were converting to like Rev 5 and stuff like that. So it was pretty exciting for me coming in and being an auditor and having that background. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be great. Everybody's going to be, this is exactly what they want. So it's been really cool to like talk through a lot of this stuff with people. Not saying they weren't, it was already on the track for that, but I was like, this is a exciting time, getting the team. We all say the same things, and like it's a wonder when I like step back or you're not in the room, but then the team's like, oh yeah, this new updated baseline is going to ensure that we're all in line with the configuration settings that are needed. If those don't fit your particular department, your particular system, don't worry, we'll review them for risk. There's plenty of compensating controls. We just want to make sure that everybody is um, doing the bare minimum. Basically, this is here to help you. This is here to help you. So having that like in unison, we're doing this for you. We're doing this to make your life easier. We're doing this to secure not just the city of Philadelphia and data, but also the city of Philadelphia and your data itself. So, once you start making things more personal and, letting folks know, like, we're here to help you, I think that does so much. Like, it does wonders with people getting on board, with people believing in you and your mission, supporting it. So I'm just like, let's get excited, because this is some really exciting stuff. I'm so nerdy right now. I can't believe I just
I love that.
this.
I feel the passion. Well, this has been great, Jessica. What advice would you give to emerging CISOs, current CISOs, new CISOs, experienced CISOs in their roles as they move forward in this journey to be that all-in-one CISO?
I love that. Don't be stealing this now, Todd. All in one
Our
system.
listeners will. Our listeners will. It's the
That's
best form of
true.
flattery. If they all call their programs
Ah,
all in one CISOs, you'll know where it came from.
I love it. Thank you for that opportunity. Yes. Um, well, I'd say to the minorities out there and the women, women, different cultures, different backgrounds. A lot of our cyber folks now are transitioning second careers or using transferable skills from other industries. Just whatever position you're going to, don't have imposter syndrome. Believe in yourself. Do the research. Know your worth. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. When it comes to CISO, I don't think CISO role is for everybody. This is something that kind of it I don't want to say it dawned on me, but it was a career goal that happened to that I committed to for myself. Not right when I started my cyber career. It was more so the past like 5 years, and that was probably, I'd say, a lot of attributing to being an auditor and working with various organizations, and seeing how imperative that role is. How much value that the role of CISO can bring, the all-in-one. We have the ability to hire great staff, train them up, make budget moves, expand our business, bring in those baselines, and really, drive change there from a compliance and also from the tools, bringing in the solutions that will make our lives easier, make, what we're doing more successful, and reduce those risks. So I don't think CISO is necessarily for everybody, but I would say if that's on your career trajectory, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Figure out what your core uh points are, the core, like change, be that change maker. What are your core change makers? Like for me, it's staffing, making sure that everybody has what they need to be successful and the positions are filled. Budget, we need money to do all that. Security awareness and training program, beefing that up to, you are the weakest link kind of thing. Those are, and also contract fairness. I'm big on that, right? So those are like my four pillars that I've come to realize about myself in this role. So I would challenge, individuals to really think about when they leave, what their legacy will be. What are the significant changes that they would like to implement and drive, and get people excited about within your organization. So that's different for everybody, but those are mine. But yeah, I just say keep getting excited. I'm gonna steal that from you. Be excited, be the change. Make sure that when you do leave that particular organization, that you leave it on a good foot and you're doing the right things and you have a legacy there.
Great place to leave it, Jessica. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, Todd. Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in for this week's episode of the CISO Stories podcast. We want to say a special thank you to Arctic Wolf, our diamond sponsor, and Cohesity, our sapphire sponsor. Please subscribe to the CISO Stories podcast and you will receive a new story each Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you next week for a new episode.